Hey guys, it's Karina with Karina Loves to Plan. Welcome back to my channel. So here I am back in my big Love Letters Happy Planner that I'm using to follow along with According to Ali, as well as Heather Kell of Kell of a Plan. So what I've got here is the Love Letters Big Happy Planner. I will link this below in the description. And then I also have this Artist Loft tracing pad paper, which I've also linked in the description, but you can also find this at Michael's. And then what else I'm using today are my Tombow Fudenosuke Color Hard Tip Brush Pen. All right, let's get started. Okay, so what I've done with the tracing paper is I've cut it to size and then punched the holes for the discs in here, but I've taken it out because it just seems easier to be able to take this in and out here. So the first letter in this week's series, so for January 18th, is the letter R. And actually I love the letter R because there's so many different ways that you could do it, but for me, I have difficulty with capital letters. So for the letter R, a lot of the capital letters start off in the top portion here and do a little flare up at the top there, push down, and then you can either start from the middle, so you go lift up your pen, start from the middle, and go around, down, and down, and back up again. So I'll do that a couple more times here. Lift up your pen, around, down, and then back up. So starting from here, go up to the top, push down, lift your pen, go around, and then press down, and then lift up. So that is the capital R. Now with the small r, there's a lot of different ways you could do the lowercase r, but it really depends on your style. But very basically, you start from the bottom, thin stroke up, little curl, over, down. We'll do that a couple more times. Some people like to really emphasize this curl here. There's different styles of doing it. So you can go up, big curl, down. Some don't even do the curl. Just do that. It really depends on your style, but I really like the big curl. That's me specifically, but you do what works for you. Okay, so now I'm going to go into my tracing paper and do a couple rows of each. So that's the letter R. You can tell that some of the pressure, I do need to work on the pressure in between the downstroke and the upstroke, but again, that takes practice. So now with Heather's challenge, you can follow both along with me. But for Heather's challenge for day 18, the word is equality. Oh goodness gracious. Okay, so we're getting pretty close to knowing all the letters. So it starts with the letter E. And Q, and then U, and then A, L, I, T, Y. Do that one more in real time here. Even I'm finding these actually a little bit difficult. Q, U, A, L. It really is just about connecting these letters together. Yeah, I need to work on my Y's. All right, I'm gonna do maybe 3 or 4 more on the tracing paper, and then we'll move on to the next letter in Allie's challenge. What I'm learning pretty quickly about myself is that I need as much practice on the basics as I do with the more difficult letters. So if we go back now to Allie's challenge for January 19th, and the letter is letter S. So let's move to brown. Now, there are different ways to do this. Like I said, with every letter, I'm going to go over the basics, but you can stylize yours any way you want to. So with the capital S, you're starting off down here actually, working your way up, push down, and over. It looks very similar to a letter L, but let's keep going and practicing that capital S for a bit. So starting at the bottom, then stroke up, and here you start to push down and then over. It's pretty, but maybe I'm gonna try maybe moving it like leaning over a bit rather than straight up. So start from here. Do you guys see any difference in that? How it's leaning over just a little bit? So I'm gonna try that again. I'm learning the capital letters along with you guys. So then with the smaller S, you could do a very similar style to that, but what I actually like to do with my letter S's is just go up like this, and then I pick up my brush pen, move it over like I would be doing for a letter O, and going around and then pushing down like that. There's other people that I see that do the letter S starting from the bottom, go up, and then just like in cursive, do this for a letter S. So there's really different ways that you can do this. I'm gonna keep going with, actually I'm gonna try out both styles and see where we go here. So the style that I've been working with, where you can tell I'm still working on my pressure, and then this style, which I have seen people like Erica Canant do, and I love everybody's different styles with hand lettering. The great thing about hand lettering though is that as soon as you learn the basics, you can start to develop your own style. And not everybody's hand lettering will look exactly the same. So then I'm gonna do a few practice ones on the tracing paper. I love the tracing paper because there's a smoothness to it that's different than the actual Happy Planner paper. So I'm gonna do a couple of rows of each and then get back to the Heather's challenge. So those are the letter S's, and I actually really like trying to connect them together. That's an extra step in practice there. And then for Heather's challenge, the word is, oh my goodness, these are getting harder and harder. Perseverance. Gosh, they're hard for me, and I've been doing lettering for 2.5 years. So perseverance, starting with the P. And then the E. The R, and then the S that we just did, the E, and then the V is difficult, so you start up at the top actually, go down, back up, and curl. Perseverance is with an A. Gosh. Oh wow. It is a very pretty word, but it is a difficult one if you're not used to connecting the letters. So I'm going to do this one more time in a real time, and then I'll do a couple practice ones. Really working on lifting my pen where I need to, working on the pressure. It's not gonna fit. Barely. All right, so I will do a few more then on the tracing paper. I think I need to do this one a couple more times to just get the hang of it. That is actually a really fun word to do, and I might do it just a couple more times because I'm actually really enjoying lettering that word. It is actually quite a fun word to do. All right. Okay, so the next letter in the series, oops, sorry guys. The next letter in the series for Allie is the letter T. And this one is a weird one. I find that the basics of brush lettering is very, very similar to cursive, especially with the capital letters. So it's going to be similar to the S and even the letter I in terms of where it starts. I think, nope, that's the letter J. So I'm going to correct it and show you that the letter T, it's like that. Now I'm going to go back to, what letter was it? Like the letter L starts off very similar, as you can see. And then the letter J, that's what I initially did, and the letter I. So there's very, very small distinction. So we don't want this, we want this. For the letter, the capital T. This is why a lot of the times I do prefer to do all my hand lettering as lowercase. Then for the actual lowercase t, you start with at the bottom, go halfway, lift your pen, go to the top, push down, up, there. And so it really has 3 strokes involved in it. So start from the bottom, upstroke, lift your brush pen, go to the top, push down, and then lift up, and then the crossover. Once again, start from the bottom, thin stroke up, lift your pen, go to the top, push down, then lift up to go back to the middle, and then cross over. There we go. All right, so I will move this out of the way here. I will do a few more of those T's sped up here for you guys, because I know you don't necessarily want to see an hour-long video of me doing these. That's the letter T, and then the word for Heather, oh my goodness, for the 20th is inauguration. And I know, I mean, Heather being American, and it's a very important day for a lot of Americans, so let's do this word. Oh boy. Starting with the letter I, start from the bottom, and then the I, the N, the A, U, T, make sure I spell this right. And the T that we just worked on. Wow. My favorite part of the word is just this area, actually. I love all of the up and downs here. I'm going to try and see if I can fit that in one more time. and then the A. I love the letter U. Because watch. So you say down, up, up. Oh, and R. Made a mistake of lifting there too early. I can tell my pressure's off. All right, I'm gonna try a few more practice ones on the tracing paper. That is a tough word, but I do love just the up and down pressures of it. So I'll do a few more. I can see why Heather chose that word, not just because, I mean, it's an important day, but also just this part is just so fun. All those up and down swirls, that was my favorite part of the word. So for the 21st, we are going to do the letter U, and it's very similar, uppercase and lowercase, so do that again. Start from halfway to the top, so like a quarter of the way down, up to the top, push down, lift up, push down, halfway. All right, I'll do those a couple more times for you. All right, and then for the smaller U, it's actually not too different. It's more just you are starting from the bottom and then going up. So starting from here, this is a fun one. It's almost like the letter N, but you are working on your spacing between these two a bit more. The spacing has to be further apart and then closer to these two. So let's try that again. So you see how it is slightly different. You can tell this is more U than an N. That looks like a bit more like a U, but then I could just change the pressure ever so slightly and you could see what the difference would be if it was a letter N. Can you guys tell the difference there? So this is a letter U and this is a letter N. It really is about the spacing. And this one really you're going straight up and then pushing right back down, whereas this one you're kind of going up in a bit of a curve. So there is that difference there. The curve for the letter U is down at the bottom, whereas the curve for the letter N is up at the top. So I'm gonna do a few more practice rows of the letter U. The letter U. I'm actually loving the way all of this looks here. So for day 21 of Heather's challenge, the word is success. So we get to practice a little bit of the S's and the U's. Actually, all the letters in here in this word we've all done before. So start with the letter S, U, C, I'm trying it with the two different S's here. So success, my hand is a little shaky. I like that word. It's a little shaky really around the C's and the E's for me. I do better with pressure for letters like these, but for C's and E's and O's like that, I have difficulty for some reason. What's your favorite letter so far? I love the aesthetic of letter S and letter R, but in terms of actually doing it, I love letters like U and M and N. So I'm going to do a few more practice ones on the tracing paper. I'll speed through that. All right, so there's the first 4 days of the week there, and I really love the way that that all looks. So the next letter in Allie's series is the letter V. And the letter V, I feel like with cursive, it is a little bit more difficult, but I'm cursive, I'm brush lettering. It is about starting here, going up to the top, pushing down, work on the curve at the bottom, and then a little curl. So you're really trying to work on making sure you lift your brush pen enough here so that it's an even thickness from the top to the bottom. So let's try that again. So you're almost starting to lift up your pen pressure here rather than going too far down at the bottom. Because if you lift your pen here, then you're not going to lift it up in time to be able to go up. So I'll show you an example of if you wait until the very bottom to lift your pen. So you're going to go under. So you want to lift it before it gets to the bottom, just like that. Now with the lowercase v, looks very similar, but now just lowercase. So start from the bottom. So the difference I'm seeing with the uppercase and the lowercase letters is really the starting point. So for uppercase letters, we always start up here, at lowercase, start down here. So start at the bottom, then stroke up, push down, lightly up, and curl. So do that a few more times. So up, down, and around. Really working on the pressure down here at the bottom. It's the switching over between the two pressures is, I think, the more difficult piece of it. All right, I'm gonna do a few on the tracing paper here. Let me clear up my, excuse me, workstation. And I'm gonna zoom through these ones here. So that's the letter V. And then the word for Heather's challenge for the 22nd is organize. So the only letter that we haven't covered in that whole word is the letter Z, but I will show you. So this up a bit. Letter O, letter R, G, N, I, Z, E. The key thing here is, though, I keep saying this over and over again, it is totally okay to lift up your brush pen in between strokes. Because in cursive, you're encouraged not to lift up your pen, whereas in brush lettering, it is absolutely okay to. The only tricky thing in this word is the connection between the O and the R. And that could be something that could be covered in a whole other video altogether. All right, so I'm going to do a few practice ones on the tracing paper, and then I will be right back. right? It is a pretty word, a very pretty word. All right, so let's move on to the 23rd. So for the 23rd, we are doing the letter W, and it's kind of like the V. It really is kind of like the letter V, because in French, the letter W is W, so double V, because it's not really two U's, right? But anyway, that's a whole other story. So with the W, start the same way as a V. And then instead of doing the twirl, go down again and then around. Let's do a couple practiced ones. So the curl and then go up, push down, and around like so. Then do it again. Notice that you do not have to go all the way up to the top with these. You can just go 3/4 of the way up and then halfway. Now with the small w, the lowercase w, very similar again to this one, looks very similar to a U. So you start from the bottom, work up, and then do the curl. So it's like a U and a V put together. I'm really working on the transition between the thick downstroke and the thin upstroke. And I could fit one more. Okay, and then I'm gonna go in with the tracing paper and do a few more practice ones. All right, so then the word for the 23rd for Heather's challenge is compliment. Ooh, all right. Let's get my stuff out of the way here. So start with the letter C. O. I think the challenge with these as well is making sure I'm spelling the word correctly. There we go. Again, the sections that I love about this word are really the M-E-N, but then the M as well. I'll do one more on the paper here, and then I'll do the rest on the tracing paper. And don't rush through these. I mean, we don't obviously want you going too slow because then that's where the shakiness happens, but you don't want to rush through these either. You can tell I've got a bit of shakiness here. Just there and there. All right, so let's do a few more on the tracing paper. And then we've got one more day left to go. The last letter for this week is the letter X. And I always find this one tricky, but it's actually not too difficult if you think about it in the two different strokes here. So you're starting, again, all of the capital letters seem to start, most of the capital letters start in the upper half, and then you go up, down at a diagonal, up like that, and then the second stroke, go up like that. It's weird to me because whenever I write my X in regular printing, it's like down, down. But with brush lettering, you want to see a difference in the line width. So it's really emphasizing that the upstroke is, this stroke is thin. So let's try that one more time. Do it a few more times here. Now I'm wondering whether you do the upstroke first or the downstroke first, because if you're wanting to connect this to a word, right? So, but again, I always keep mentioning that you can lift up your brush pen. It's not like cursive. Okay, so then for the small X, very similar, but obviously smaller. So you're starting at the bottom, do that, and then the X. I actually really like that. I think it's super cute. And it is really looking at the up and down stroke. So up, down, up, and then cross over. So I'll do that a few more times on the practice paper. I really do like the lowercase x. I think it's so pretty. Now, the last word for this week with Heather is practice. And actually that's going to go into what I'm going to ask you guys to fill this space with. You can certainly follow along with what's in the Happy Planner, but I have a different one that you guys can follow along with as well. So the word practice starts with the P and the R. A C T I C E. Notice how this is very shaky. Do that again. And it's those transitions, working in between each letter. That is the next step once you've got the basics of lettering down. One more. Once you've got the basic letters down and the way to connect them, you've got those, then you can start adding a bit more bounce to your letters. So what I mean by that is watch these next few. These practice ones for practice are going to be a little bit more bouncy. See the difference in the style there? It's not even staying in the lines. You're almost over exaggerating that. And actually, I really like that. All right, so those are the exercises for Heather and Allie. But what I also want you guys to try this week is because one of the things that we looked at was the letter U and the up and down for that. So I want you guys to practice, when you get a chance, to practice the up and down, the difference between the letter U and the letter N. So for example, the letter N, you are starting from the bottom, and the emphasis for the curve is up at the top. Whereas with the U, the curve is at the bottom. So do a few of those practice. And actually that's one of my favorite things, but there is a distinction between the two. So I want you guys to recognize that there is a difference between the pressure changing up at the top and having that smooth versus just a sharp change like that at the bottom. So once again, with the, I guess the curve change over at the top and then a sharp change at the bottom versus the other way around. So the sharp change at the top and then the curve at the bottom. I gotta work on those too. All right. So thank you guys so much for joining me for, I guess this is week 3? Is it week 3? Yeah, week 3 of the lettering challenges, and it's going really, really well. And it's also helping me with my lettering challenges, helping to practice in front of you guys. But if you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. If you like this video, please leave me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching and have a great day.